I'm so proud that so many of you in the room know how to come down to the Capitol and testify on bills like the voter ID bill. Thank you very much. But the votes were already cast because the vote was 3-2. And voter ID was killed because we put the wrong members there in the first place. And I've seen that again and again and again and again. Our real battle is at the ballot box. It's between now and November. It's what we do. Getting men like John in office, not just, you know, run a good race, but win. So that when it comes time for a vote, Mary Hodge is a nice lady, but her votes are the wrong way. You know, and it works that way with just about anybody who's got a D behind, well, anybody who's got a D behind their name, by my experience down there. There was one exception in the House once. There was one guy from over in the Leadville area who just called himself a Democrat, but he was with us 90% of the time. That was one time in 10 years that I've been down there. Aside from that, occasionally you'll find some back and forth on a rare occasion, but what we do between now and November is what really makes the difference. And the people of Colorado know that we're in deep trouble too. If you just talk to your neighbors and kind of try to keep the politics out of it, you just go in on the policy, and people understand we're spending too much. Government's in too many places. Good jobs are not available because the government has made it so difficult for business to survive. Or here's one, energy. The price of gas. And what is the president doing? Well, when a pipeline is planned to make a real boost to things, he says no. When environmental policies are put in place that could either encourage sound economic development through growth of energy, he says no. You know, what has Ken Salazar been doing as his Secretary of Interior down in the Gulf? They pretty much shut that down. They have put so many obstacles in front of reasonable development. And we are so blessed with so much energy potential. 5, 10, 15 years ago, people were talking about peak oil. They were saying, you know, we're just kind of running out. It's all kind of grinding down. Well, do you know the facts today? Do you know that in gas production in this country, our reserves have gone up by a factor of 4 or 5 times because of the new technologies that allow access to formations that were hitherto thought impossible to be productive. And so too with the oil side of the oil and gas world. Up in the Dakotas, you know, in North Dakota, they have, they're measuring it in hundreds of billions of barrels of potential. And that's just one play. You know, in Weld County, we've got a big play for the gas with the Niobrara shale situation. And you could go on and on and on. But why isn't the nation perking up over that? It's because of the policies in Washington. It's because of, you know, how that's kind of percolated down, so that even here in Colorado, we've been fighting this fight for several years, where we see an administration that doesn't really get it. Even Hickenlooper, you know, he gets great press because he's very shrewd, but my experience as a state legislator is John Hickenlooper is no different in policy than Bill Ritter. He's a lot better in his politics and in his public relations. But if you drill down to his actual policies of promoting good government growth or limiting regulations, I mean, they speak a good game on how they're going to cut regulations back, but I ran into this last summer when somebody brought to me the proposed daycare center regulations. regulations. You remember this one? Last summer, it was actually somebody who came up to me and said, you know, you wouldn't believe this. They're taking 30 pages of regulations for private daycare centers, and their proposed regulations are 98 pages in length, and they include things like how many crayons do you have, and what kind of milk are you going to serve, and what sort of a doll collection are you going to have, and is it going to have all three races represented? Oh, a friend of mine, he suggested that a Star Wars action set would probably qualify. And it went on and on and on. So I thought, you know, here's one where the Governor Hickenlooper has said we're going to cut down on ridiculous regulations. I thought, man, this is a no-brainer. All I have to do is just kind of make the public aware of this, and he's going to come out and he's going to say, oh, back off, don't do that. We're going to pull the plug there. Here's what happened. We did make it public, and the people figured it out pretty quick. Even the Denver Post. They ran a front page story on it and followed up with an editorial a couple of days later that said the Department of Human Services needs to take a timeout on their daycare center regulations. What did the governor do? He said, wow, no, we're not going to count your crayons, but you do have to understand that we're trying to move these daycare centers into early childhood education centers. And I ran legislation. I've met with the director of the Department of Human Services several times. I have battled other bills they have, like Senate Bill 130 is one they put on the table and went through the Senate. I think it's not going to make it through the House. Thank you to Frank McNulty and his assignment to the Direct Committee. It's not a done deal, but it is going to State Affairs. But and this is a bill that take all the early childhood programs and put them under one roof in the Department of Human Services. And it's to coordinate it so they can grow their programs into what they really plan on. And I won't go into too many details on that, but it's an example of where the governor was given a perfect example where the people of Colorado knew this is too much. And all he did is he just finessed around it. They have never yet said those regulations, those 98 pages of regulations were a bad idea. The best they've said is, we've just done too much too quickly. Too quickly. They consider that to be the goal still. And that's what you see again and again and again. That's the kind of battle that we're fighting on almost every level in every department in the state of Colorado. It's the difference between a Republican perspective and a Democrat perspective. And the other guys have been in charge too long. They put too much in place, even with the Taxpayer Bill of Rights that says no new taxes without a vote of the people. They have violated that again and again and again. You remember a couple of years ago they had the dirty dozen tax increases? What happened this week? The Amazon tax was declared unconstitutional. And I thought, and I actually put a little blurb in my website today, and I said, yeah, but we were saying that on the Senate floor 2 years ago. This is unconstitutional. They finally got it. That the Amazon tax was the tax on requiring businesses to report out-of-state sale or in-state sales in Colorado for sales tax collection, and basically turning every business in the world into a collection agency for the Colorado Department of Revenue. And that's what's unconstitutional. The courts have proven that again and again, but they just tried to ram it through anyway. And fortunately, we won on that one, and they underscored that with this court ruling just this week. That's what we see down there. Anyway, I could go on and on and on my particular examples that I see. I would much rather interface with you on some questions if you've got any, and let's have a little dialogue. Any thoughts? Jane, yes?
Okay, you talked about Senate Bill 130.
Yes.
And Mary Hodge wanting to put this all together.
Mm-hmm.
We know where it sprang from.